What exactly is a residual haunting? Residual hauntings are the result of a violent, traumatic, and abrupt death in any given area. Now, I say in any given area because this can take place really anywhere. It's very common in homes, especially older homes that have a lot of history. And they are a stain of the death that took place, a stain of the deceased person in question. Residual hauntings are the result of continuously replaying a memory that is now stuck in a time loop that just continues to keep going. Residual hauntings, or a spirit that is uh, a part of a residual haunting, they do not know that they've actually died. They're unintelligent and they don't interact with the living. They don't interact with the living whatsoever because they're so stuck in what they used to do. For example, if the spirit in question was someone who was a cigar smoker or cigarette smoker or a heavy drinker, you would get fumes and whiffs and smells of the activities that they used to partake in. You may even see them, partaking in these things in the home. If they were a partier, they liked to listen to a certain kind of music, you know, or they had certain activities that they would usually partake in while they were alive. They very much so would continue doing those exact things, and you would overhear them, see them. These are the types that feel like something's walking through you. You might experience this sensation of someone or something walking through you in these type of situations more often than not. And they're not purposely walking through you. They just don't actually know that you're there. They don't have a real understanding truly of what's going on in their surroundings because they're so stuck in this memory of what they were doing before they died and what they were doing when they were alive because they truly believe that they are still alive. It's very similar to when people get stuck in a certain mindset when very traumatic things happen to them when they were a kid, or they get stuck thinking like a kid or acting like a kid. For example, you have people who will mentally still be 5 years old because of sexual trauma. Residual hauntings are very similar to that. They are the responses to trauma that stain in death. Now, residual experiences that I have are plenty. I'm just trying to think of one that would be the best for this video. Let me think. There was a time where I went to an alleged haunted house. Now I'm saying alleged because there are people who are skeptics, and people still don't know whether or not this place is haunted, but it's a historical landmark. And when I used to live in Fresno, California, this landmark is referred to as the Kearney Mansion. There are a lot of stories that surround this place. It's a legendary place. Well, my friend and her boyfriend decided to take me there one day, and we wanted to see what we experienced. First of all, when we get there, I end up immediately encountering a spirit. But that spirit was intelligent, so I actually experienced her intelligent haunting. For this video, I only want to talk about the residual examples and the experiences of residual haunting. So we get into this place while we're on the tour, and we end up in the kitchen dining room area. And then there's an area that has the paintings of the house owner, right? There's paintings of him on a ship. There are, paintings of him sitting in his house on a chair in different suits, things of that sort. There's one particular area in there that tends to house a lot of energy, and apparently quite a few people experience feeling shaking in this area, as if the actual entire room is shaking. Now, I experienced this, and so did three other psychics that were actually in this building at the time. See, we felt this sensation of the room just starting to feel like it was shaking slightly. Now, it wasn't a lot, and it wasn't anything that was overwhelming, but it was something that you would be able to actually tell if it was actually happening. Now, the four of us are just looking at each other, comparing what we're experiencing, but we're experiencing the exact same thing, the exact thing. Now, I don't exactly know why we all four were experiencing this, but apparently it was the HVAC unit that was inside of the floor. In this area, they had the HVAC unit inside of the floor. It was right there. In the exact spot that we were standing on is where it was installed years ago. Since the home was no longer being utilized and things of that sort, they actually removed that. So there was no way that we could actually be experiencing what was there when it was completely removed in the first place, years ago. So we continue walking through this home, and we end up getting upstairs. There's this really small hallway that, if you're someone who is claustrophobic, you will immediately feel it. Now, myself, I'm not claustrophobic, not at all, not even a little bit. But when I got up there, I started feeling like the walls were closing in on me. I started feeling nauseous. I started feeling sick. I felt like I was dying. I felt like I was experiencing onset symptoms of dying in that hallway. And we go into another room that's to the right in the hallway. And it's an area where some of the maids used to sleep. And in this room, I kid you not, I can see a pair of Union soldiers in their full garb, just transparent, just standing there next to the window, the sun going directly through them. I can see the curtains behind them. They're they're acknowledging me. They can see me. They're looking at me. They're not saying anything. And I just sat there and thought to myself for a second, did I really just experience that? So, mind you, as I was speaking of the other psychics that were there, they were also, in fact, experiencing this with me. So it felt really good that, there were other people who were seeing and feeling this stuff too. Excuse me, but I couldn't quite understand exactly why there were Union soldiers that were there. Well, there was literally a civil rights battlefield directly to the right side of this house, where in fact there's every year a reenactment of the Civil War. So me seeing these two Union soldiers was a confirmation as to the research that I did after the fact that we left that place, because I didn't know that that's what that was known for. We end up going downstairs, and we walk into this ballroom. Now, at first, I don't hear anything, I don't feel anything, I don't see anything. But then I just get this very odd taste in my mouth. I mean, it's such an odd taste. It's very peculiar. Well, it turns out that someone in that place had actually died of poisoning. Before I knew this, I was experiencing all of the symptoms of someone who had actually been poisoned. So I was actually experiencing the death of someone who died in that very room. Interestingly enough, when I started to taste this weird flavor and then taste my blood, I got this really bad, sharp pain. It was agonizing right at the base of my spine. And then I began to hear people laughing, music playing. I began to hear people uh, cheering and clanking glasses together. I heard drinks being poured. I could hear that party, and there was no one there. There was no one there aside from the people who were taking the tour, which we all were in the exact same place at the exact same time. And none of us were playing music. None of us were doing any of the sort. And I found that to be quite disturbing because this taste, this feeling, all of it, I ended up running outside. I couldn't even fully finish the tour inside because I felt like something had imprinted on me in a bad way. Well, it was the energy of that spirit that died in that room. Me experiencing that death truly made me experience that death. And I was going through the stages of that woman's death, which was truly terrifying. It was horrendous. Now that I'm used to this stuff, it's, something that I look back on all the time because it's crazy when you think about it. And now everything just makes so much sense. These were truly unique experiences. And I truly believe that day I experienced quite a few residual hauntings that were within that home.